Have you been experiencing signs and synchronicities that are linked to your twin flame journey that are pointing you in a direction, and you just know something like that song is coming from that person and they're trying to send you a message? Stay tuned, because I'm going to share with you my own journey of how my twin flame catalyst, the signs and synchronicities, pointed me to my twin flame and our honeymoon that we're about to take. Hello, fellow flames. In case we haven't met, my name is Dr. Harmony, and I hope you live fearless, live loved, and live free. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Make sure you hit that subscribe notification bell so that you know when all my videos and content come live. And today I'm going to be sharing some of my own experiences about the twin flame synchronicities and who the person I thought was my twin flame, that all the signs linked to, how they really took me around the block and back to my actual twin, so that I can share with you how that person basically was the catalyst that linked into this whole cycle and circle down to he is still sending messages that have to do and are connected with our honeymoon. So before we dive into sharing with you about how these signs and synchronicities unfolded for me all the way down to my honeymoon that's coming up here and this week, let's talk about what those signs and synchronicities mean and what they're trying to tell you. So the first thing about the signs and synchronicities I feel guided to say is they are your wake-up call. And they might take a catalyst to awaken in you that inner power that allows you to tap into your higher consciousness, your higher self, the truth, the wisdom, and everything that's locked inside of you. Then, of course, the communication comes of how it's linked towards to direct you towards even the twin flame word. Like, you're not always supposed to wake up to that until some sign or synchronicity or the code 1111 points you in that direction. And that's only because at that time, only will you be able to ready to identify it and see what it is you're to see. But typically, you know, the whole point of those signs and synchronicities is they technically are your own inner guidance connecting with your higher guidance and your guides, so that you can integrate all of that information and be able to navigate your journey in such a way that you're able to connect to the truth and to create a language between you and the higher wisdom that you're embodying. So let's dive into my own signs and synchronicities and show you how that connected to my person I thought was my twin flame, that was somebody that'd been in my life for 20 years before we woke up to the concept of twin flames together, taking him to activate me to come into alignment with more of my purpose, more of my higher self. And in that journey, it began in March of 2015. It began longer than that, but the twin flame part of that, and even without, let's say, the awakened twin flame part of that, because there was things leading up to that that kept funneling in more and more and more, that I look back and see how it all aligned. However, from that awakened standpoint, I was heading to Sedona at the time I started working with him to help him heal from his previous marriage and pain and suffering that he had went through for the whole 20 years that I basically had known him, as I had. And everything about our journey did parallel to the point we, got married one day apart at the beginning of our journey in chiropractic school. And then I had got a divorce and was ending a second relationship as he's getting his divorce after having watched him be miserable for many, many years. And I was his person that he went to discuss or advice about that relationship all those years. He was my person to go to for business. But whenever we reconnected in a new way in the fall of 2014 at the final blood moon, and that led us into doing some one-on-one work together in March of 2015. And that was at the end of March. It was actually on the spring equinox, the very first day of all things. And as we moved into the next couple of weeks of working together, I was on my way to Sedona. And as I was going to Sedona, basically, I should say the session I saw him just before I went to Sedona, I said to him, out of our work together, what is it you want? What do you desire? What do you need from this? What's your intention? He goes, all I want is peace. I just want inner peace, and that's all I want. So I go off to Sedona, go hiking, and I go up on Bell Rock, and I proceed to find this big word of peace on the top of a ledge on Bell Rock, and it was made out of sticks and stones, and it's the picture and image that I put inside of my book of Twin Flame Codebreaker. And so I text him that on Bell Rock, and it was just a sign of here's your peace, right? So in that process then, the thing that I want to say while I was there is I also went to Buddha Beach. And while I was at Buddha Beach, you make these statues there. And I knew that I was going to, it was intuitively guided, that this whole journey was awakening me to my person, my beloved, and who was going to be my one united person. And I created a Buddha statue on Buddha Beach in Sedona. And I'll put a picture and an image up where you can actually see it up here. But I want to show you because I also bought a frame that had represented the yin and the yang. And I'm going to show you a kind of up close just so you can get a good view of that. And to see these two foundations with 7 stones that goes up the top of it there that represents our being 2 solid, strong, and stable people that come together with all of our 7 chakras aligning and coming into union and oneness and blended and merged as one unit. And I knew that when I was building this and it represented my beloved, I knew I would be bringing my beloved back there to share and show them this statue I'd made. So one of the things when I got back from that trip, I shared with him the pictures that I had taken while I was there. And later I was sharing with him how to do a vision board based on feng shui for his office and his staff. And I got a text message from him showing me that they had done their vision boards, and he had a picture of Bell Rock on his vision board. And it was in his helping people in travel section. And so it was interesting because my name was also on there as a helping person, helping the staff and teach some things and all of that, and also a mentor from him kind of spiritually. And I said, what are we doing? Taking a trip to Sedona? Because my name was there with Bell Rock, which was kind of just, it was a joke. Okay, it was just funny. But in addition to that, later in summer of 2019, I was very drawn in this feeling that something was drawing me to Sedona. And so I signed up to do a retreat, a 1-day VIP retreat myself with Sandra Rollis from a YouTuber here. And I was going to do a one-on-one day retreat with her. And so basically the whole time I kept feeling this draw to me and my person. And so I literally had this idea that was not me. I was making a vision board, and I thought, I was shown, you have to put Bell Rock in your relationship section because that has to do with that. So I did it because I just felt guided, and I didn't really know what that meant except for I was just my intuition. So basically then the whole time I was preparing to go to Sedona in September of 2019, I was talking to even another one of my Ascension teachers, and I just kept telling him Sedona. And he's like, what is with Sedona? You just won't stop talking about it. I go, I don't know, but something big is happening and I don't know what it is. So I also had at the end of August of that 2019, a Awaken Your Soul Blueprint retreat here in St. Louis. And I had about a vertigo that came from clearing a past life, and I fell out of a tree and I landed on my back and my breath was knocked out of me in the dream, and I woke up in physical state of shock. And the next day I ended up trying to adjust and move my back, and all the energy shot to my brain, and I ended up with vertigo and couldn't get out of bed for 5 straight days. So this all piggyback and paralleled 2 to 3 weeks before I was due to leave to go to Sedona, but the vertigo never went away. And I had a new chiropractor that was doing some different types of work with me that had been scheduled to see him as a new patient for 8 months. that landed right in that timeline. So I got to see him and start these new types of treatments. But in the flip side of that, I was not able to go to that trip in Sedona. I canceled the trip. And so basically the interesting thing with that is I had another ascension teacher that had crossed my path, teaching me and showing me that paralleling that concept of not knowing boundaries and put to the test with, was my partner a woman or man? And so I had this ascension teacher that actually today we're even still friends. And but she ended up actually going to Sedona around, like right at the same time I was supposed to, but she didn't know all of what was going on with me. And so nothing she did was planned around what I did, but I ended up like not being able to go, and I had to cancel the trip. So fast forwarding to April of 2020, I basically one day kind of woke up to like all these signs and synchronicities that started paralleling my journey that had been in April of 2015. And I started realizing it was like those wake-up codes, it was signs, it was getting my attention. And so I started like realizing that that was happening. And next thing you know, I started realizing that all of my Facebook memories of my Sedona trip that I originally went to, down to that peace picture I had sent him, started coming up and showing through, like coming on my Facebook page as memories. And I started paying attention to what it was, like getting my attention. And next thing I know, within that same days, in between those Facebook memories coming up, I had on my Facebook feed a picture of him with a woman that was on his business page, because I'd liked his chiropractic page, and it came up on my news feed. I can't tell you, I've never seen one of his posts come up on my feed before and ever this journey. And so it came up on that particular time frame after it was getting my attention. And then here is his picture of him and this woman together on top of a mountain overlooking a cliff, facing Bell Rock, with their hands up in the air, like, holding hands together, like they conquered it, looking at each other. And you could just see, that they had accomplished what they set out to do. It was the whole thing. It was like a conquering picture. So guidance, said, I don't go looking for this stuff, but like when stuff shows up like that, it's like signs, the synchronicities is trying to show me something, tell me something. Yes, connect quantumly, like even messages from him to show me certain things. Absolutely, that exist. So I clicked on his page to see that, like, the person that had posted it on his page basically was linked to that person, which was his person that he was with in the picture, to lead and show me how they got engaged in Sedona, and those were their engagement photos at that exact time. It linked back to the time I was supposed to have been in Sedona. So it was like I saw all of this, but the thing that was so like amazing out of it was he got what he wanted. He was happy. Like, he glowed. They glowed. I'm like, he got his person. They make each other shine. They make each other glow. And I cried, but I cried for like happiness, because I'm like, he did it. Like, he literally did it. So what am I to learn from this? I was to learn that he chose what his heart knew. He told me what he wanted. He told me I was not it. He told me that he was my catalyst, and that we got each other ready for our persons. And he stood by his own intuition, his own guidance, and he did what he needed to do what he needed to do to finish and conquer this with his person by his side. And I was nothing but like in a state of like awe, and like, if he did it, I'm next. Because if I helped him, because her first name was also my real first name, then in that reflection, he showed me he got to choose. He showed me that I should be choosing something that is my highest version of me, or my person. that I shouldn't be held on to these things with him, that I should definitely let go, which I already had. I had never been attached to that, technically. I knew that it was something that I was shown, and yes, these signs and these synchronicities can point us in a direction, but then we get attached to that story, we get attached to that meaning, and then we think that that's the end all be all, but it's a part of the process that takes us like these codes of one step to the next step to the next step, you know? And he also showed me that he got super clear on what he wanted, and that if I could get super clear on what I wanted, then I could have what he had too, and that's my person. So now let's fast forward to my person and how that links to those original signs, and how my person's here, and how that links to our honeymoon. So the first thing I'll say is Julian actually had this call also to Sedona. And he can share that in a minute, because I don't even know if we've had time to really sit down and like learn all of those connections and those dots. But basically, it was brought up enough to the point where he felt like that we were connected, that we were to go there. And this was before he knew every detail that you have heard here, and he's known most of everything we're going to share. But there were even a couple things that came through as I was saying this that, you know, just came out that like you don't remember every detail. Just like I didn't remember basically that my person was linked to the statue that I made at Buddha Beach as all of this unfolded for the honeymoon, because it wasn't like I thought, oh, I have this statue in Sedona, I got to take Julian there and show him and share him. It wasn't even like that at all. I had forgot about that, and at the moment at least. And Julian was being called to go there, and he felt like we were going to go there and we were going to do it this fall, and he was going to plan to basically engage, like ask me to marry him and get engaged there this fall in Sedona. And we both had been talking about our future as this unfolded and what we were going to do and what we wanted, and we knew that we were being called to Sedona and including doing a retreat there next fall. But the whole wedding put us on this fast track of like being like, we're already married. This needs to be done. It's part of the process of divine guidance that wants us there, wants us in like full reunion to go out and finish and work on this mission. And so basically, we were also told by our spiritual advisor now that we were supposed to do a retreat in Sedona this fall. And it was not quick enough. The venue was not open or ready. It was already booked. But this kind of pulled and linked us. It's so funny because she said, you guys are supposed to go to Sedona this fall. She knew nothing about any of this either. And we're like, yeah, we're going to Sedona next year for a retreat. And yes, we're supposed to take a trip to Sedona this fall that it came up. And the other thing I want to add to that is that how this also links to Julian and our connection of our meeting is that the week that Julian came here to meet me the very first time, and he was going to fly from Washington, D.C. here, and I was actually going to fly him in to do all this work on me. I used the credit for my Sedona trip to bring him here. And so in addition to that, then, as our wedding fast forwarded, and next thing you know, we're like being shown we were to go to Sedona, and it's kind of like we stepped back. We didn't even push it and rush it. We're like, where we want to go on our honeymoon? What are we going to do? Are we still being called there? Are we going to go to somewhere else? And it just was Sedona, just kept calling. So it's like, okay, we're going to go, spend our honeymoon in Sedona because we feel really guided for a lot of reasons, and we don't even know what all of those reasons are. But as this has unfolded very quickly, then over the last week, as we're getting closer, because we leave, the day this video comes out, we're going to be on a plane on our way to Sedona. And probably around the same time that this actually comes out. So we're going to be there doing lots of energy work, activations, and of course, our blessings. And of course, searching and looking for the Buddha statue that we had saw there. But as this comes full circle and has gotten closer, all of these inner reconnections, this deep, I don't even know what it is inside of me, but I knew that like stuff me revisiting going to Sedona when I was supposed to be there 2 years ago, and I've been battling vertigo for 2 years, and now I'm going to be getting on a plane and going backward, like at the same time frame in September, and the exact same week that I was supposed to be there is our honeymoon, and including meeting a friend that I was supposed to fly to meet her in Sedona at that time 2 years ago. So it's like all of these signs and these synchronicities are coming back around that link to everything from the beginning of this journey. And so this week, I've had all these emotions coming up about releasing this connection to this vertigo, whatever fear or whatever underlying connection was about me going in the first place, about having to choose that, like, I didn't feel well enough to go with the vertigo, and the things I felt at that time, the things I were clearing, the things at the beginning of this journey. And then all week, the person, the catalyst, has been sending like these messages basically all week long as well, coming through. And what I want to read to you, I found a email he had sent me in a deleted file on a computer that wasn't even a computer I had at the time, and it was in the deleted file, and it was dated for September 15th of 2015. And he sent me this message whenever I was going to have surgery for my uterine cancer, and he had went with me, and he was with me when I got the diagnosis of cancer. And that afternoon, after he had brought me back to my office and dropped me off, he sent me this message. And it said, "Just a blip on your radar, a slight hiccup, letting you know that council is not completely on board with all you," in all caps, "decided to do. So to be reminded not to be in control and to let go. Surrender. A way will be shown. Remove the toxicity left in your house." Now, I want you to know what that means, okay? First of all, at that time, that meant at that time, the uterus represents home, and I had uterine cancer. So he's like, remove the toxicity left in your house, exclamation mark. Revisit the last blockages to release. Allow others to help you. Invite them in. Set boundaries. No expectations. If they choose not to respond, release, and the blockage will be destroyed. And so it is. You got this. One of the strongest women I know. Okay, so when I got this and it came up, I called Julian and I said, look at this. And I showed him all the dates and, all this stuff. And I said, I don't know what this means, but it's a message from him, and it's coming through loud and clear that I'm to pay attention. Something's needing something. And so we just set it to the side. And then basically from there, I started getting more messages. If you read my book, Twin Flame Codebreaker, you'll know that I get messages from Wayne Dyer all the time. Well, both of these people have been silent from these messages for a little while, and then Wayne's messages started coming through. And down to, like, I realized that his passing was on the day the message came through, that I'm like, oh, did I miss his passing? And next thing you know, no, today is his passing. And he came through with a huge message that was one for me to give Julian and one for Julian to give me. And they aligned like so perfectly with just without a doubt, it was like really confirming so many things. So just a couple days ago, I was doing some work on Julian, and we were in this room in the middle of a vortex that's back here doing some body work on each other, which we do, and I was working on him. And as I was doing that, I had this epiphany, so to speak, and it was looking at this. I'm going to show you this black Buddha here. I'm going to point out that there's a selenite plate underneath of it, as well as right there. And then there's this necklace right here. All right. I'll see if I can get a closer up shot and put up here where you can actually see it. But basically, while I'm working on Julian and I'm being in silence, and we had already kind of put out there, what's this message that came through, but just left it, wasn't trying to focus on anything. But when you ask those things, like, the answers will come if you just be still and listen and feel that intuition be shown. And so I looked over at this Buddha and saw the plate, saw the necklace, And then I started going back through this whole Sedona thing because I bought that selenite plate in Sedona when I went in 2015. And when I came home, I was working back on the person I thought that was my twin. I had put it underneath of him as this draw because that plate is supposed to clear out the energy and cleanse it as big as this entire room, if not more space. And then I was using a pendulum on him. And that night, I had set the plate off to the side and put that pendulum on the plate to be cleared. A friend of mine came over and said, like, what, tell me about your Sedona trip. And I'm like, oh, I got this cool plate. And I went to go get it. And I picked up the pendulum and it sparked and the tip of it fell off. And then I picked up the plate, and as it picked up, the plate popped and the top of it cracked and the top portion of it fell off. And so in that, I was like, I knew from other experiences, signs and synchronicities, when we clear karma, and we especially clear karmic patterns, things will break and things will let go, and things are like, happen like this. And there's multiple times I've had that happen. This was related to him. It was, I used it on him, and I knew that meant he cleared a karmic pattern and something huge had let go and had been released. And so I basically texted to him and showed him, and he calls me and he's like, oh my God, he felt really bad in one sense because he's like, knew that I bought that there. And on the other sense, he wanted to make sure to get me one back and, replace it. But on the flip side, it was like he actually wanted it as well, because it was sort of like this thing that he had accomplished something, and he, for whatever reason, he wanted to continue to use it to be working with whatever. So he orders me this one that's over here, and I basically got a new one shipped to me. Well, then the next thing I realized as I'm looking at that Buddha back there, and see that memory had came back as I was working on Julian. And next thing I noticed, this necklace that is up here is a butterfly necklace. And the person I thought was my twin bought it for me for my birthday that same year of 2015. And it represented the freedom and the, becoming sovereign. And he searched, I know he put a lot of effort into finding something that really had meaning. And the day he presented it to me, I had one I'd bought in Hawaii that was like it, but a whole butterfly with the butterfly wings in it that are real. And then he gives it to me. He's like, oh, you've already got one and it's even better. Just, maybe you should just take this back. And I was feeling bad because I knew he put all this effort into it. And I'm like, no, the point is, you got it. It's the meaning behind it. It's different. It doesn't matter. It's just totally fine. But at the same time, my daughter buys me this Buddha right here at the same birthday. And so I was drawn to put it on there. And it's been on there ever since 2015. I might have worn it a couple times, but it's like it belonged to the Buddha. And I realized as I'm working on Julian, the gift that the catalyst gave me was my black Buddha that showed up in my life. And we're going on our honeymoon to Sedona. And that the catalyst, if it had not been for everything I went through to the awakening of the twin flame journey, everything he showed me, the work we did together, that's even helping people around the world, this was part of our mission of the opening portal of all of this. It's not that I maybe wouldn't have got here anyway, but he was a huge, huge catalyst and impact on my journey for 20-something years. And I have nothing but gratitude for the gift he has given me on so many levels that he got me prepared to be here. So now I'm going to let Julian share with you any thoughts that he has. But as I turn it over to him to share with, maybe his pull to Sedona, his sign synchronicities in connection to any of this, I also am going to throw a question out there to him that he's not even aware of. I keep getting from clients, friends that I'm talking about as I go through this connection of my past to my present and with Julian, and how he helps me with this, and how he is helping me to see things like that. This letter basically says, remove the toxicity left in your house, right? Okay, remove it. And I didn't catch this exactly, the link, after I said that. We slept on it the next morning. Julian was telling me, like, this is what the letter means. So these things are going to be taken out, and this is going to be cleared and given away and donated. This is going to go to Sedona and be left there. But I've been asked, because I talk about this by friends and clients, like, well, how can you talk to Julian about this? Doesn't it bother your relationship? Doesn't it bother him? How can you be that, like, transparent, basically, is what they're saying. Well, this is how transparent you have to be on this twin flame journey, and with your beloved, and with your best friend, and with your lover, and with your person that's your healer. You can't hide anything, and I have no reason to. He is the one that's helping me heal the remainder of all of this past to be free together to go forward. So I'm gonna turn this over to you, but I also, at some point in this, I would like for you to answer that question, because they asked me, does this bother you that I talk about this and share this stuff with you?
No. I mean, when people tend to have issues with stuff like this, it's either because of, well, it just comes down to insecurity, really. Either it's you're not confident in who you are or your relation in the relationship, and so there's room for jealousy, there's room for a lot of negative emotions that end up blocking communication and flow. I mean, when it comes down to it, we talk about these like ascension teachers and people who have helped bring her to where she is by being mirrors when she needed them. They basically played the role they were meant to play so that we could actually find each other and be ready for each other when we did. So the only emotion I have towards these people, honestly, aside from just love, is gratitude. So thank you if you're watching. As for in terms of like my pull to Sedona, when we were first talking about doing the retreat, Sedona sounded right to me. And then I was asked, when we're thinking about a honeymoon, like where, what's coming up to you? Where do you think we should go? And first place that popped in my head was Sedona. And I've never been. I've talked to a couple people who've gone. They've expounded upon it. It sounded like a great place to go at some point. But none of that played a factor in it. I just felt that that's where we would be this fall. And at some point we're actually even going to move there. So but in terms of, yeah, I just felt pulled. And then I was actually the one who noticed the connection with the plane ticket, because originally she got the credit because she couldn't go to Sedona. She was going to use it to go to Miami to get some work done, and then that didn't work out either because of the vertigo. And
no, I got COVID,
right?
Yeah.
So COVID brought us together two different ways. One, it paid for the flight, and two, it created the situation so that we both needed healing at the time, because she had the actual virus where I was like in recovery from the vaccination. So we both needed to come together and came together, and due to COVID. And oddly enough, go a step further, again, it's the same credit that she had that she was going to use to go to Sedona 2 years ago, and now she gets to go with the guy who apparently she built a statue for. So how cool is that? Yeah, I mean, am I going to sum up something? I don't know. I think everything has been said, and if you have questions, then I'll answer them. But I think we're good.
Yes. Awesome. So basically, we're leaving, as I said, for Sedona, and we're super excited. And so make sure that you like, comment, share the shine here. Let us know what signs and synchronicities you're seeing on your journey. And if one person, maybe the signs with them is leading you to someone else. But keep in mind, in all of these signs and these synchronicities, that the biggest key is that your own interpretation is your own direction, but don't stay attached to it. The point is that there are breadcrumbs leading you to something potentially different than what you can see in front of you. So don't be so attached to that either.
Not to mention also, you don't want to lose yourself in that other person, right? A lot of people lose themselves in their twin or mentor or a guide or teacher. However, the thing is these people are doing their job. The key is they're reflecting who you are. That reflection is key. Everything comes back down to you. And that's what you need to see. That's what they're there to show you. The moment that the focus goes off of you and onto them, their purpose is lost. So don't waste their work.
In addition to that, do not give your power away to the signs and synchronicities and thinking, I've seen where so many people also put so much attention on the signs and synchronicities as if it's outside of them and only going to move in certain directions based on the sign and synchronicity. No, it's your choice inside that's creating all of this. And it's your choice to take the direction of which way you go. And no matter which way you take, you're going to end up in the right direction. These things are just unlocking inside of you your own power. So don't get too hung up on them and separate yourself from your own intuition, from some external guidance that, yes, is there, but it's really pointing you back to you.
And speaking of that too, like a lot of us wait for those signs to move forward. Time's ticking. Your life is draining away second by second. Keep moving forward. If you don't see the sign, keep walking. You'll find it.
Absolutely. All right, so thank you guys so much, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video. And we do plan to have some things coming up for some retreats together and some joint work together that we're being guided to do to help people in VIP intensives that are in person, that you'll learn more about in the near future. And make sure to check out all the ways you can glow forward with me in the links below. And also make sure to check out Julian's page below of how you can get plugged in and learn more about how he can help you get through and transform the trauma that you've had from your journey thus far, so that you can release those emotions and transcend that pain and turn it into love and be able to experience love with your beloved. So we send you so much loads of love. May you always face your fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Namaste.
Ciao.